After the success of the last video on the channel, I decided to delve back into the world of no rules and PvP. And what better way to do it than showing off the new Titanus Constructus mod, Citipati. An oviraptorid that lived during the late Cretaceous period at around 75 to 71 million years ago. First discovered in the 1990s and named in 2001. We start our journey in Hunter's Thicket, a lush area with plenty of food for our young Citipati. However, it can be fraught with danger, and it is for this reason that I decided to move to the hot springs immediately. With our new colours starting to appear in our young oviraptorid's plumage, and crossing the border into hot springs, footsteps could be heard behind us. Anxiety flooded over me. Please, not a predator. This run hasn't even got started yet. Our young Citipati, who we will refer to as Barney from here on, froze, listening carefully. Where was it? And more importantly, what was it? Fortunately, it didn't seem to be following young Barney, and he was free to continue his journey across the hot springs. As Barney crossed the hot springs, however, in the distance he saw the source of the bipedal footsteps he had heard earlier. A pelican, a type of terror bird, is seen running from left to right. After leaving the hot springs, Barney decided he needed some company. A group of other Citipatis, ideally. Although, he'd take any herbivore that was willing to take him in, of course. With this in mind, he decided to try his hand at the Grand Plains. A dangerous area, but one where he is more likely to find allies. Strength is in numbers, after all. But to get there, he would need to navigate the desolate pass. While not overly dangerous, it still poses threats, such as ambushes from Megalania and other low-lying creatures. Confident in his running ability, he soldiered on. The outskirts of the Grand Plains. An ideal place for a quick drink. It would be too dangerous on the plains itself, Barney rightfully thought. Finally, heading into the Grand Plains, it quickly became obvious that there was a hive of activity here. A Tyrannus had killed something in the distance, Barney observed as he approached the cliff edge. It would seem, however, that this Tyrannus was not going to get the chance to enjoy his meal, as he was quickly driven away from the corpse by a Deinonychus and its rag band of compies. If they are brave enough to chase a Uti, let's hope they don't see me, thought Barney. Continuing to observe the activity in the area, from high on his cliff top, Barney noticed a dinosaur group, seemingly agitated at something. A Deinonychus. With compies? Didn't they just drive off a Ute? Why are they fighting these now? Unanswered questions. A Megalania can also be seen bleeding. But from what source? With all these distractions happening, Barney realised the corpse is probably unguarded right now. And he is hungry. Maybe he can employ a scavenger lifestyle to consume some of this meat before the other dinosaurs in the area take notice of him. With hunger getting dangerously low, this sounds like the perfect opportunity. He reaches the corpse, takes a quick look around before picking up a slice of meat and consuming it. Quickly, he realises he is full, even though he has just grabbed another piece. Clutching the last piece of meat salvaged, he makes a run for it. Looking to put distance between himself and the corpse, he continues running before spotting what looks to be another Citipati, with a Titanus behind it. This Citipati appears friendly, calling to young Barney, inviting him to stay with them. Cautiously, Barney accepts. The beginnings of a herd, potentially. During this, a Kentrosaurus appears. It seems less eager to join the group and eventually heads off on its own. In the background, a pack of Smilodons appear to be moving into the area. Barney was beginning to get anxious. As the Smilodons ran off into the distance, another Citipati is spotted and it makes its way over, inevitably joining the group. As the small herd looks to settle for the night, a fight breaks out within the dinosaur group, and they begin to barrage one another with heavy bites that can be heard across the plain. It was at this moment that a Dilophosaurus appears, relatively close to Barney and the small herd. Panicked, Barney shrieks out in an attempt to warn the others. Fortunately, the Dilo doesn't seem overly bothered by the herd and walks past them towards more dangerous areas. More and more predators appear on the horizon. This is becoming very dangerous. Despite the noise from the battle in the distance, the herd decides to sleep. It's been a long day, after all. Barney was awoken early by the stomps emanating from a Spinosaurus traversing nearby. A few alert calls had the rest of the herd up on their feet. It was only the early hours of the morning, and they hadn't got the amount of sleep they wanted. However, the Spino passed by, barely glancing at Barney and the herd. Suddenly, fights began to break out all around the herd. Barney and the others quickly became anxious. It was time to move, and move fast before they were caught in the crossfire. A mape screaming in the background scared Barney. Barney had never heard a mape before, and it was absolutely terrifying. Finally, away from the action, Barney and his herdmate decided this was a good time to grab a drink from the river. In the background, the other predators can be seen, a more valuable surprise for any Sargosuchus and Dinosuchus lurking in the waters. Barney felt safer in that knowledge. However, something had taken interest in them. A bright green Megalania. Barney spotted it first. His herdmate was much more delayed, but luckily the first attack missed its spot. Gallantly, the two Citipatis fought the Meg, determined not to become lunch for their ambushing counterpart. It quickly became clear that Barney had never been in combat before. His strikes were wild and aimless. His herdmate was certainly putting up a better resistance to the Megalania. After a short while, there was a break in the combat, the Megalania bellowing towards the two Citipatis, who in return showed off their impressive tails in a threatening display of their own. As the two Citipatis looked to leave the area, the Megalania once again attacked, much to the surprise of the two Citipatis. Luckily, no bite landed in the initial resumption of the fight. Although a croc had decided to get involved, Barney was unsure as to why, as all three of the combatants could easily run if needed. The Megalania had also spotted the third Citipati in the herd and decided to sneak up to attack. Barney saw this and sprang to his ally's defence. Finally, the Megalania landed a bite on Barney. Stamina was draining fast. Barney knew if he ran out of stamina, that would be the end for him. Fortunately, his herd mates realised this, and between them, they barraged the Megalania, forcing its retreat from combat. This was a victory for the herd. One of the herd mates decided it would be a good idea to wind up the local compy population. A decision that would surely later come back to haunt us. It was during a small R&R session that the compies attacked their numbers. Barney struggled to get the pouncing compies off his back and received a barrage of small but effective bites. The numbers game was very much in the compies' favour, and Barney had no idea just how many of them there were. Battered and bleeding heavily, the herd began to panic, running in different directions to try to escape the tiny carnivores. The compies were relentless in chasing down the Citipatis. Things were beginning to look bleak as each member of the herd was chased hard across the Grand Plains. Inevitably, someone was going to fall. The compies did a good job keeping all three Citipatis moving. Eventually, Barney and his herd mates were going to be running on empty, and it would then be a matter of time before someone was dead. Suddenly, what can only be assumed as the compies' ringleader, a Layton seen earlier with them, arrived to finish the job. Pouncing one of the Citipatis, things were now critical. The herd was about to be ripped apart by this new entrant to the battle. Seemingly accepting his fate, the first member of the herd to be defeated went down. Barney hoped that would be the end of things. However, it wasn't to be. The compies continued to harass and bite at Barney. With stamina critically low, survival was becoming impossible. Barney made one last break for it. There was nowhere to go but to just run and hope that stamina would hold out. Unfortunately, it didn't. And Barney faced the Reaper on his way to the afterlife.